All right, let's get right into it. As 2025 wraps up, we're all looking back at a year that was, well, just full of noise, chaos, and a whole lot of contradiction. And to really get our heads around it, we're digging into this fantastic analysis by author Shankar Ayar. He makes a powerful case that the entire year basically spun around one central figure, Donald Trump, and his pretty wild strategy of talking peace while at the same time waging war. Iyer kicks off his whole piece with this line from T.S. Eliot, and honestly, it is the perfect way to look at 2025. It really was a year of these chaotic intersections, right? Where campaign promises smashed into the reality of governing, where talk of peace just slammed right into aggressive action, and where the ghosts of old conflicts just kept popping up, right on cue. And standing right in the middle of that crazy intersection, at least according to AR, is Donald Trump. His presidency was, the sun that everything else orbited in 2025. The whole point of Ayar's analysis, and what we're really going to unpack here, is this massive gap between what the administration was saying and what it was actually doing. So here's the crucial idea. What Shankar Iyer points out is this central playbook for the year. Talk peace, wage war. And this isn't just some catchy phrase. He argues it was a deliberate strategy. Out in public, the message was all about calming things down, staying out of other people's business. But behind the curtain, the actions were often super aggressive, either with the military or with the economy. Let's see how Iyer lays this all out. So, first up, we have what Iyer calls the peace president paradox. He really zeroes in on how Trump constantly painted himself as a peacemaker, an anti-war leader whose main goal was keeping America out of messy foreign conflicts. And look, that was a powerful message. But did the reality actually match the rhetoric? Well, let's see. And here it is, the promise, right from the horse's mouth. This is from his inaugural address, and it's the benchmark he's set for himself. Not about the wars you win, but the wars you avoid. Ayar uses his quote to really nail down the peace side of the argument in the clearest way possible. And boom. This is where Ayar just flips the script. He immediately hits us with this pretty jarring number from the conflict monitor ACLED. Over 500 U.S. bombings around the world in 2025. I mean, that number just completely clashes with the whole narrative of a country that's supposedly pulling back from the world stage. And Yar's point is that this isn't just some abstract number. It's a reflection of a world that is still very, very much on fire. He points to what's actually happening on the ground. A ceasefire in Gaza that keeps getting broken. New bombings between Thailand and Cambodia, even as they talk about peace. A war just simmering away in Central Africa. Oh, and that peace plan for Ukraine? The one that was supposed to take 24 hours? Yeah, we're 340 days late and still waiting. If you want a perfect little case study of this, Ayera tells us to look at Venezuela. You can see how things just escalated. It starts with talk about economics, then it morphs into a war on narco-terrorists, and before you know it, it's an open call for regime change, all backed by a very real military buildup in the Caribbean. This is the whole talk peace, wage war strategy in a nutshell. Okay, so let's switch gears a bit, because as Iyer shows us, this war wasn't just fought with bombs and planes. A huge piece of the puzzle was economic, fought through this really aggressive global trade war, where tariffs were the main weapon. And if you've just looked at the surface, the administration had this massive number to brag about. $236 billion collected from tariffs. This was the big headline number, right? Presented as solid proof that the whole strategy was working, forcing other countries to pay up and filling up U.S. coffers. But, and this is a big but, Iyer looks at the government's own numbers and finds something completely different. During that exact same time, the overall U.S. trade deficit, that gap between what we import and what we export, it just exploded. It went up by over $112 billion. That's a huge jump, over 17%, which suggests we were buying way more than we were selling, even with all those tariffs. So you have to ask, right? Did all that economic pressure actually lead to any big breakthrough deals? Well, if you look at IR's scorecard here, the answer is a pretty clear no. Big talks with China, India, the EU, even our closest neighbors, all basically stalled out. The war was happening, but the wins were hard to find. And this part of Iyer's analysis is really fascinating. The trade deficit didn't disappear. It just moved. It's like squeezing a balloon, You press down in one spot, and it just bulges out somewhere else. The tariffs cut the deficit with China, sure, but that gap was more than filled by buying more stuff from places like Mexico, Vietnam, Taiwan, and even Ireland. The problem didn't go away, it just got a new address. And here is the ultimate irony that Iyer points out.
Get this, the very countries that were the main targets of all this economic pressure, they seem to be doing just fine. In fact, more than fine. China's global trade surplus blew past the $1 trillion mark for the first time ever, and Russia's currency, the ruble, got strong again, bouncing back to where it was before the invasion of Ukraine.
So as we close the books on 2025, Ayar really makes us ask, what does this all add up to? You take the military paradox, you add the economic one. What's the real long-term impact of this talk peace, wage war approach? Where does this leave everyone? And this really gets to the heart of what Shankar Iyer is asking. After you look at all the evidence, the conflicts that won't go away, the trade deals that are stuck, the deficit that's getting bigger, is this whole thing actually working for the U.S.? Is it making the country stronger or safer or richer?
Iyer argues that the consequences are already hitting home. First, American companies are eating the cost of these tariffs. Then, what happens? Hiring slows down. And on a bigger scale, he warns that all this rising national debt, which is partly fueled by these policies, could make the U.S. dollar itself a lot less attractive to the rest of the world.
And this is where Iyer's analysis lands, with a pretty huge takeaway about where the world is heading. He's saying that America's contradictory actions are actually speeding up a major reshuffling of global power. Other countries are teaming up in new ways, creating a world with multiple centers of power, a world built not on old alliances or ideologies, but on raw, practical self-interest. It's about what works for you right here, right now. Iyer ends his piece right back where he started, with T.S. Eliot, and it leaves you with this really powerful thought looking ahead. In this brand new multipolar world that 2025 helped create, every country, including the U.S., has to figure out what face it's going to show everyone else. The real question is there even enough time to get ready?